and welcome to this Metaphorix NAV Know webinar. My name is Pauline Forder, and today we're going to be looking at dimensions and analysis views. We will have a look at how we set dimensions up, and we will be creating a new dimension and adding values to that dimension, and we'll see where the dimensions are controlled from the general ledger setup. Additionally, we will look at how we can set dimension control on our chart of accounts to make sure that once we have created our dimensions, that they are indeed posted through to our GL so that we can analyse our sales and purchases from there. We'll then have a look at how we can attach dimensions to records such as our customers and our vendor records, and also our items. We'll then have a look from a global dimension perspective, how we can look at the chart of accounts through those dimensions, and then so that we can see the additional dimensions, those other than our global dimensions, we will be looking at the analysis by dimension view card. We will see how we can run that view card and indeed how we can then export it to Excel. So, first thing we need to do is to have a look at our dimensions and how we set them up. So I'm just searching for dimensions here. And you can see on our database, on our Cronus database, we have a number of dimensions already set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to just create a new dimension called product, and you'll notice that the name fields and these code and caption fields get automatically populated for me. I can change them if I wish to. Once I've created my dimension code itself, I then need to populate the values that I will be posting against. So from the little values button at the top of the screen, I can come in to the values themselves, and I'm just going to create a simple dimension. For those of you familiar with Cronus, we're dealing with bicycles, so I've created a wheel dimension. And of course, you would then just create as many dimensions as is required. So once I have generated that dimension and given the dimension code, I then need to tell Navision that I do want to use that dimension code within our postings. So I'm just going to go to the general ledger setup. And in our Dimensions Fast tab, you will see there are some dimensions already entered. These first two, in fact the first four, are what we call the global dimensions. And in this case, on the Cronus database, the global dimensions are department and project. And with global dimensions, any postings that have those dimension codes attached to them, they will automatically get posted throughout Navision, through to GL, etc. However, for any dimensions that aren't the global ones, we have to set them up in what we call the shortcut dimension codes. But you'll notice that the first two of our shortcuts are indeed our department and project code. They are indeed duplicated within that area. So dimension code, or shortcut dimension code 3 to 8, we can specify any of the dimension codes that we have got set up. So in this case, I'm now going to attach my product dimension code that I have just created. So now that means that as far as Navision is concerned, it knows about the product dimension, and I can use that throughout Navision in this thing called dimension by analysis. So once I have done that, I probably would want to control the data that is posted through to my GL account, because there's no point in having dimension codes if you're not controlling where they get posted to. So from my chart of accounts, I can come in and select which dimensions I need and which GL codes I want them applied to, the control to apply them to. So normally most people don't bother with the balance sheet, but you can, it's not written in stone. But I'm going to have a look at my sales accounts here. And the way we set that dimension control is we just place our cursor on the account itself. We go up to the dimension button at the top in our ribbon, and we've got two options. In this case, I'm just going to use the single dimension. I'll show you when the multiple comes into play. So my single dimension, and now I can specify against my GL account 6110 what control I want. So for example, I might say that I want to know what the customer group is, and in the dimension value code I'm going to leave that blank, and then in the dimension value posting field I've got some options here. So just to explain, I can say code mandatory, same code, or no code. So if this particular GL account wasn't actually just for, in this case, domestic customers, it was for a specific group of customers, so perhaps sales retail for large customers, what I might want to do is say same code, and then in the dimension value say that here I only want those postings that are made against the customer group where it is large. Whereas for my product dimension that I've just created, I want any product at all. I don't mind what it is, but I must make sure, or NAV must make sure, that when anything gets posted to that account, that it has indeed got a product dimension code. And in this case I would use the code mandatory and leave the dimension value code blank. You can, as you've noticed, use the no code, just meaning that you don't want a particular code to be on there. If you don't set the control, then you don't need to worry about that anyway. So more or less, probably you would just be using the same code and code mandatory. So once we've got that set on our GL accounts, or account in this case, I just want to show you now how we use that multiple option. So I was just placing that code against my GL code 6110. However, if I want to do it, I want to apply dimension control to multiple accounts, then I simply just have to highlight those accounts, go to my dimensions, and you notice this time that the dimension single is actually greyed out anyway, so I wouldn't be able to select that. I select dimension multiple, and again I can come in here, click the new button, pick up my customer group. Now perhaps for the rest of these accounts my control on the customer group isn't same code, so in this case I can just say any code, but I must have a customer group code. And again for my product I can again say code mandatory. When I'm happy with that, I can just say OK. So now when I come to the individual accounts, I can see that that control has now been applied to all of the accounts that I highlighted. So I now have my control, so any postings coming through to my chart of accounts to these particular accounts will have that control, and if users do not enter the relevant dimension codes, then when they try to post a document that eventually will hit these particular accounts, if those codes aren't present, then they will indeed receive an error saying that a particular dimension code is missing, and indeed the transaction will not post until those dimension codes are present. So that's very good, but in order for us to help our users, we can apply those dimension code values where relevant to our static records, such as our customers and vendors and item cards. So to show you how that happens, we'll go along to our customers. I'll have a look at just this one called the Canon Group, but it applies to all of our customers. I can open the customer card if I want to, but I don't have to, because I do have access to the dimensions up here on my home ribbon. So again, I can click on the dimension code. This is only applying to the Canon Group, and now I can see any dimensions that have already been applied to this customer record. There's the area code, and this is indeed highlighting that this particular customer is under the Europe North dimension code for area. They have a dimension group code, if you remember here, where we can have our large, medium, private, etc. And we also have a department code. Of course, whichever codes you use are obviously relevant to your particular database and how you want to analyze your database. You can indeed as well add the value postings to make sure that anything that does get posted through against a particular customer account card, that someone hasn't changed the value postings on the document itself. So this is how we can apply it to our dimension control to our customer records. Vendors work in exactly the same way. So I'd just like to show you now from an item perspective, because of course we have just created our product dimension. So we created our dimension for wheels. So I've got a front wheel here. So I want to make sure that when this particular item is populated on a document, whether it be sales or purchase, that it brings through the correct dimension value code. So just highlighting my front wheel, I can go to our navigate, and then I can go to our dimensions, and again we have the ability to do multiple dimensions if we want to. In this case, because it's a product, then it wouldn't go necessarily against multiple products. So I'm just going to do the single code, come into here, pick my product. In this case, I'm going to specify what the product code is, and it is wheel. And also, if I want to, I can also say same code. So OK to that. So just to show you how those dimensions can be brought through onto the various documents, I'll just go on to, we'll have a look at a sales order. We'll create a new sales order, and I'm going to select that customer that we were just looking at, just so you can see those dimensions coming through. So select the Canon Group. I do have a warning, but yes, I do want to carry on, thank you. And now what I'm going to do is actually show you those dimensions that have automatically been populated because of the settings on that custom card. So I'm going to do navigate and dimensions. And here you will see the area code, the customer group and the department, but we also have this one called the salesperson code. And just to show you where that has actually come from, I'm just going to go to the customer card by the link on the right hand side, and from here I can see, still as far as my dimensions are concerned, that salesperson code is not there. And that is because the salesperson code has actually been attached to the salesperson code record. So just to show you that, I'm going to go to Advanced. Here's my list of salespeople, and then from my Navigate button, Dimensions, and there is my dimension code for Peter, I believe it is, Peter Sudlow, Suddo, whatever. And the reason why you would put the dimension against the salesperson code itself rather than the customer is because salespeople come and go, and if you were to change the salesperson code and you had attached the salesperson dimension to the customer card itself, then it wouldn't reflect the new salesperson code. So attaching it to the salesperson code will make sure that the relevant dimension will always come through to the record. So I'll just come back to my sales order that we were creating, and we will now come in and pop in our front wheel. So there we are, there's our front wheel, and to see the dimension now that's on our front wheel, we can go to Line, Dimensions, and not only do we have our product code, but we have on the lines all the dimension codes as populated from our header record as well. Okay, and of course each of your items that you populate on your order will carry or can carry their own dimension code, and each line will have that individual product code for that particular sales order. So what I'd like to show you now is how we can view those dimensions from a GL perspective. So we'll pop back to our chart of accounts, but of course I can't view my product dimension for two reasons. Number one, because I haven't made any postings against it, but more importantly, our product code isn't one of our global dimensions, and it is, from a GL perspective, only the global dimensions that we can view our balance by. So in order to do balance by dimension, we're going to use, up in our ribbon here, the GL balance by dimension link, and we have some options as to how we're going to view this particular screen. We can choose how we want to view our lines. So we can choose from our two globals, our department or our project, or from a GL account or a a period perspective. So I'm going to leave it as GL account, and from a columns point of view, I'm actually going to change that so that we can see it via departments. Of course, you can choose however you want this to be viewed. I've got some filters that I can choose. It's automatically popped in the date filter based on the day, because that is the option in our matrix. I'm just going to change that to month, but because we are in a Cronus database, our data isn't valid for this actual financial year. So I'm going to change that to December 2013 to the end of December 13. And also I'm going to filter on the GL accounts that I want to view, because I'm going to look at the expenses, and in this database the GL account range is 8100, so I'll just do 8100 ... to say from that account going forward. I can choose to set a filter against a particular department or project, but I don't want to do that at the moment. And then I have some options as to what values I want to be shown. In the matrix options, I can specify, as we saw earlier, the period, how I want to view it, and what my calendar source is, and that will depend on whether my calendar source is system calendar or accounting period. I can then specify whether I want to see the net change or the balance at date. With the column set, there is a little tick box on the previous fast tab where it says show column name. So at the moment, because I have chosen department as my dimension, it is showing me the code of the dimension. Whereas if I click into the show column name, then that is the actual description. In my case of the product, it would be the wheel complete description. So it's entirely up to you as to what you want to view. Please don't be tempted to click the OK button, because all that will happen is that it will just close the screen down for you. So in order to view this, we go to Show Matrix. And so from here, we can see against our expense accounts what the total expenses over the period, December 2013, and how that was broken down in terms of our departments. We can send out to Excel if we want, but I'm going to show you that from the analysis by dimensions, because we actually get a nice little pivot table from there. So of course we can choose to change, as I said, our particular dimensions. Just going back a screen, we can choose what we want to show in our lines and our department and our dates, etc., giving us a good view of our particular details of our chart of accounts at a given point of view. So that's how we can see the GL from a globals dimensions point of view. But if we want to view those additional shortcuts, then the way we do that is through this thing called analysis by dimensions. So from here, I'm going to type in our dimensions again, go into here, and we can see our analysis views. You can set up any number of analysis views, and you can set each of those views up looking at any number, up to 4 individual dimension codes that you wish. Now, if I was setting a new one up for that new product code, perhaps I want to do it sales, where I'm showing the area against the product code. I would simply go to New. I would give it a code, so sales prod by area, for example. And in here, sales by area and product. I will have the option to say whether I'm going to do it GL account or if I'm using the cash flow module of Navision. Well, we're just looking at the GL account at the moment. I can then select which GL accounts I want to do this on, and the reason why you would enter GL account filter here is because what Navision will do is it will create, it's not quite true, but in effect a separate little table to record all the different postings against the different combinations, in this case of area code against product. And if that selection, area code against product, is only relevant to certain GL accounts, then I would want to just have it against that. In this case, the sales accounts in this particular database are from 6100 onwards. That was really silly. Let's just pop that where it should be. My cursor was in the wrong place. That's better. I can do something called date compression unless your database is extremely large and you're having lots of postings going through in any one period. I would recommend that you either have it on none all day, but if you're worried about that, please come through to support and we can assist you on your particular database. I do have to specify, however, which accounting calendar source I'm using, whether it's the system or accounting period. And then I have some fields over this right hand side, but I'm going to come to those in a moment. I now want to specify which GL accounts, dimension codes that I'm going to be using. And in this case, I'm going to be using area and my product. If there are other dimension codes that I want to use, then indeed I can select them here. Once I have made my selections, I now have to update my analysis view to generate the records and pull in the information of anything that might have been posted already. To do this, I have a couple of options, but the first option I just want to explain is we have this update on posting. Now, what this is saying is, do you want the Vision to automatically post to this little subtable every time a posting is made? It's really up to yourselves. Again, it is probably reliant on whether you have lots of postings going through at any one time. It's quite easy just to update the analysis view as you go and want to do the report on your monthly basis, so you don't have to do the automatic postings. But if you do decide you want to, you can't actually tick that box because there's a little function up here, enable update on posting. So you just simply click on that and it says it will automatically do that for you. So you say yes. If I hadn't made that selection, then I would have just clicked on the update button, and again that would have been populated. You'll notice actually there is also an include budgets option. So if you have a budget that is based on the same dimension codes that you have on your analysis view, then you can tick the box and it will incorporate that when you come to your analysis view. So that is how you set up an analysis view card. As I said previously, we haven't actually got any product postings or dimensions for products going through, so I'm just going to show you one of the other analysis views that we have set up where I know that we have got some postings, and it is this one called the customer analysis view, and in here we are doing it by area and customer group. So I can go to the Edit Analysis View button at the top of my ribbon. And again, I get presented with a screen not dissimilar to the balance by dimension on our chart of accounts. It tells me the code that I had my cursor on at the time, although I can change it here if I want to. And I can say how I want to view this particular analysis view. I can now, if we drill down in here, I've got my GL account as I had on my balance by dimension and the period, But now I have my area and my customer group. Well, at the moment I'm going to keep that on GL account. In fact, no, we'll do it by area as we've got it as our dimensions. And then I'm going to show my columns as my customer group. Again, I specify the period, so I'm going to change that to month down the bottom there. And again, I'm going to be needing to change my posting dates. And in this case, just for the postings that we've got, I'm going to use December 2013 again. The account filter has automatically populated from the analysis view card. I then got again my options on what I want to view, calendar period, etc. And again I've got my ability on my columns based on here as to whether I want to show that column name or just the code. Again, come up to our show matrix option, and we can see we have our area codes down the left in our rows and our customer groups going across our page. So what we can do from here, if we wanted to see how any of these particular figures are made up, we can actually drill down into the value field. So we will drill down into our American North, into the large customer group, and again drill down into our value, and we can see here it is an invoice. And when we navigate, we can then actually see the document itself, or documents if there are multiple documents, creating that total on our analysis view. So coming back to our analysis by dimensions matrix here, we might want to share this information with other people, or indeed do other calculations based on the information from here, and we can therefore export this to Excel. If ever you get this type of an error or dialog box, it's not an error, please just always make sure you tick the always allow box and say OK. Then down in my taskbar I can see my Excel icon flashing, and here is my spreadsheet with my pivot table and fields, etc., with the details of the filters, etc., that were used in this particular export, and the data that is behind that pivot table. So I will just now close my spreadsheet. I don't want to save that at the moment. And come back to our summary now of what we have covered during this session. We have gone through the dimension setup and created our product dimension with our value of wheel, and attached that dimension to the general ledger setup so that we can use that in our analysis by dimensions. We've looked at how we can set the control on our GL accounts to make sure that the correct GL dimension codes are brought through to any of the postings. And we've looked at how we can attach those dimension values to our static records, such as our customers and vendors and our items. We've then gone to our chart of accounts and had a look through the balance dimensions and what options we have there in order to view our chart of accounts from a different perspective. And then finally, we've gone through the analysis by dimension route. We've created our new analysis view record, picking up our new dimension code product, and then looking at one of our existing analysis views. We have run the view and exported it to Excel so that we can see the pivot table that is generated from there. So thank you for joining us on this webinar of dimensions. There is a recording of this and all previous webinars that you can download from the address shown above. And if you prefer, you can always email Debbie on debbiec@metaphorix.co.uk, and indeed support@metaphorix.co.uk. I hope you've enjoyed this session today and look forward to joining us on our next one. Goodbye.